So these are assembly instructions for the angled cardstock ornament. There are lots of versions of this one, but this is just the one that I've created in Design Space. So there are different sizes. This is the smallest size. And for the larger size, I've put a seam in the center. This will require a sheet of 12 by 12 cardstock. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fold down on all the score lines. So you have your score lines that are just straight lines, and they're relatively straightforward to do. So you just fold down and burnish. But then you have these triangular score lines. So you want to be very careful when you're folding these down. You don't want your fold to go past this corner, and you don't want it to affect the panel right beside it. So what you're going to do is you're just going to fold this downwards, and then you're going to pinch those panels together and just gently fold this one back until you have it lying flat on itself like so. And that way this one isn't affected by the folding, because you don't want to crease it. So for the score line on the other side, we're going to fold this one down. I'm going to fold the score line down on itself until it's nice and flat. And then like so. And then the ones on the end are very easy. You just want to fold down. I folded on those score lines for the top. Now I'm going to fold down for the bottom. Again, I'm just going to fold this under and then fold my panel over like so. You're going to pinch right on that corner to make sure you get a nice crisp line. And then open up again. So for this side, I'm going to pull this one under. And then I've got my hand under the left hand side of my panel. And I'm just folding on that score line, like so. And then for the last one, I'm doing the same thing. So I have my second panel all ready. I'm going to put glue on this triangle, the rectangle, and the triangle. And I'm just going to put my other piece in position like so. So that makes one full panel, which will look like exactly what you have with the smaller size. With the smaller size version, you start off with a panel that looks exactly like this. But because we're making the larger panel, I had to slice it in half. So now we have a hole again. So I'm flipping it to the wrong side, folding this side over. I'm just going to put a sheet of paper to protect my cardstock. I'm just putting glue all over those three shapes. And then I'm going to fold my panel over so that it meets that first side. I have a piece of acetate. On the acetate, I have added some vinyl, some black vinyl. And then I have some white vinyl. And I'm just going to grab those little white pieces that go in the center of my Santa can, adhere them to my vinyl like so. And then I have the words, which I've already weeded. Okay, so now making sure that my holes are at the top. So I've got my seam in the center, and I want to apply my text to the box on the right hand side. So I'm looking for a panel that doesn't have those triangular scores, and I'm going to put it in the center panel between those two. So I'm just applying my letters here. That's where my text is going to go. And then I'm going to adhere my little camera right in the center here. Then I'm going to pop my box up. I'm just going to make sure that those center score lines are popped outwards, like so. So next I'm grabbing some ribbon, and I'm going to take about, let's say 6.5 inches. I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm going to make a big knot at the bottom, like so. My Santa Cam image is here. I've got the hole on the top here. I've got the one across from it. I'm going to thread that loop of my ribbon through the top, and the knot that's on the bottom is going to prevent it from going anywhere further. And then I'm going to take either on the right hand side or the left hand side, I'm going to grab one of those and thread my ribbon through that one. And then I'm going to thread it through the square that's on the right hand side. And then I'm going to thread my ribbon through the one that's at the front. So this is my Santa Cam one. This is the last one. And the reason why I'm doing it this way is that so that final join is towards the back. So when you're looking at it, you're looking at a fold line and not a join. Like so. So from the inside, that's what it looks like. You can fill this with a gift or candy or treats and then seal up the bottom so it's not only an ornament but also a gift box. My Santa image is here, so this is the last panel that I'm going to glue down. So I'm going to put glue on the one that's across from that one. So I'm putting glue on the square that's across from that one. And I'm taking one of the side pieces, it doesn't matter which one, and I am just gluing them so that those squares are on top of one another. Then I'm putting glue on the top of those two pieces I've glued together, and I'm bringing that other side panel right over. So I'm putting glue on that bottom square again. And then gluing it all together like so. And there's my Santa Cam ornament. So you could open these up, fill it full of treats, and then thread it through again. So now I'm working on the version with the acetate in the squares. I folded down on all the horizontal and vertical score lines because it'll help guide me to decide where to put my acetate. I've put a very thin strip of double-sided tape on the top of each of these squares and putting a bead of glue around the 3 remaining sides, and then I'm placing my acetate so that it is covering that opening, but I don't want it too close to any of those fold lines because those fold lines still need to fold. So I'm going to continue covering those openings with acetate, and I've got 8 openings per panel and I have 2 panels, so that's 16 pieces of acetate which I've cut. So now that I have all my acetate down, it makes it a little bit easier to fold. I've tested one and I found it was easier to fold down on those triangular score lines once you put down the acetate. I'm just going to do the same process as I did for my first ornament. Another thing that's different about this one, so the one with the acetate, is that because there's those clear windows, I had to make this tab substantially smaller than the other tab. So just like the other one, I'm putting glue on the upper and lower triangle. I'm also putting glue just along this tab, but it's much, much smaller than for the other version because when you fold the other end over, you can see through that little window. So I had to make that tab very small, so just be careful when you're assembling it. And so next I am working on the snowflake that goes in the center. I have 6 pieces for the snowflake and I've cut these out of glitter cardstock. I actually cut them with the glitter side down, and of course I had to tape it to the mat. Things do not stick well to glitter, so now I have a nice glittery mat. I'm going to use my extra large scraping tool, and I'm just going to put it along that score line and then fold on that score line. And then I'm folding them in half so that the glitter layers are folded together like so. I'm going to do that for all 6 of them. So now that my snowflakes are all folded in half, I'm going to grab one of them. So there's a little hole that's pierced through the end at the top. So I'm going to make sure that I always keep those at the top. So I'm just putting glue all over 1/2 of my snowflake. And then I'm going to grab another snowflake, making sure that the little hole is at the top for this one as well. And I'm just going to glue them together so that the edges are flush. So next I'm going to fold my pieces so that they lay flat. And I'm going to cover 1/2 of that top snowflake with glue, just like I did for the previous one. And then I'm going to grab another one of my snowflakes, layer 1/2 of it on top, making sure that the edges are nice and even. And I'm just going to keep doing that with all 6 pieces. So now I've glued all the panels of my snowflake together. I have a piece of embroidery floss. I'm just using a needle, and I'm just going to thread it through the holes that are on the top of my ornament. And I'm just going to knot it close to the top of my ornament, like so. And I'm going to leave the tails long. So I have my ribbon with the knot on the end of it like I had for the previous ornament. Ribbon, I made this one a little bit longer than the previous one. I cut it at about 8.5 inches. And I put my knot at the bottom. And I'm just going to put the long tails of my ornament through the bottom. So there's about 1 inch between the knot and my ornament. So I just tied my embroidery floss quite securely around the knot. There's about 1 inch between the bottom of my knot and the top of my snowflake. I'm just going to clip that off. I'm going to put my snowflake inside. I'm just threading my ribbon through the panels exactly like I did for the previous ornament. And I'm going to seal the bottom just like I did for the previous one. So there's my snowflake inside my ornament.